right. Hey, Rob, how are you this morning? Good. How are you? I'll tell you what. Just 2 days ago, short of the weekend. Two short of the weekend for this old cowboy. I couldn't figure out what this John Deere financial bill was. Now I went down to training. That's the Lawson's. I didn't know they go by John Deere Financials anymore.
Yes, they no longer have an in-house credit unless you're a certain person.
I went out there and I went down to our office and I turned time sheets in. And
Yeah.
What is it? John Deere Financial.
Yeah.
So when you ordered something for the brush cutter and just quickly said that, I said, well, that was Sue Lawson. She said, yeah, they built it. It's John Deere Financial now.
They do a lot. They do mine, personal stuff that way. Yeah. No, mine's through Farm Plan. All of mine's through Farm Plan. Farm Plan's okay if you pay it every month. Don't never let that ride over a month. About 20% interest.
Well, anymore, like I say, it's just what it is, I guess.
Well, you can't blame them.
No. Well.
Mike, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure the sound's working.
I didn't hear what you said.
I just wanted to make sure the sound was working.
It is working.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
I got this thing up here where it belongs, this microphone. How was your weekend?
Good. We got to go see Mason, so that was nice.
I'll tell you what, they just make them too short.
I would agree.
I think we ought to be 5 days weekend and 2 days working. Reckon that ever happened?
Probably not.
I don't think so either.
The JP's report came in late, but I put them in your box if you got those.
Are the mics aligned with you?
The two that we're having problems with, we're still having problems with.
Okay, and the temporary mic is.
It's on the black box.
No, is this your West motor rig to sell? Who's it? Jed's?
They say what precinct or anything, so I don't know.
I didn't know if you got a 12.
12G.
Yeah, yours is a 12.
Yeah, mine's a 12G.
I bet that's all my Jason stuff.
I was coming back from Brownwood yesterday and I was hooking it like crazy and got the other side of Mullen and I started going near the precinct barn. I had flat run down the highway and I got pulled off on that dirt road just past the roadside park on the left.
Yeah.
And that's where I changed it. First flat I've had in 20 years. Jay, is this your equipment? Yeah, I didn't know who to say whose it was. Morning.
Okay. The resumes that all came in.
The what?
Resumes on the clerk position. There's a schedule of them on your agenda. I thought having extra copies would help. Jet, we're having mic problems that affect you and Mike.
Mike's is working good.
Yours is? If you-
Yeah, Sonia said she could hear me fine.
Yeah, that's true. We can, you got, your voice carries better, or you're closer to some of these other mics. Nobody ever hears Jet.
Yeah, Sonia called up a while ago and asked me if I could hear her, and I said yes, and she could hear me all right. She said everything sounded good.
When you get mobile mics, you just use that to talk into. This one, we got a service call. This one and mics. We got that all.
Yeah, that's good.
I can. How are you doing? How's your eye?
It's good.
Kind of dark in here. Oh, boy. Okay, let's see, what do I have?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How's the hunting?
Cold this morning.
It's cold here too. When are you headed back?
Probably Wednesday if I was guessing.
Okay. Well, I hope you got a good
There's not-
fix of cold weather.
There's not much action here.
I just handed out to the other commissioners, Jason, copies of the resumes we'd received when we started this agenda being published. We didn't have but 3 internal candidates, so we had 2 external coming in. So when we get to that point on the agenda, we may change our strategy a little bit.
Okay. I've gotten all that stuff. Sonia sent it all to me on Dropbox.
Yeah,
So I've got everything but the actual resumes.
that's correct. I'll get them to you. That's why I was asking when you're coming back. If you're, midweek, you might as well just wait.
Well, it's just whatever y'all want to do as a court. I don't care.
Well, yeah, we can't talk about that till we start. So I just wanted everybody to know things changed since we put the agenda together.
Morning, Joe. How are you today?
Not a lot.
Well, it's just too short a weekend for everybody.
Yeah, that 3 days was better.
You broke it.
Well, you can hear it.
Sounded like it worked.
You can hear it.
Before it did, yeah. The second worked through at least the second pass. Let's see, it's almost 9. Still missing Carolyn.
Been breaking stuff like that. Like golf around with Friday, my golf cart charger wasn't working. I think it got fried by lightning. And then I was trying to plow Saturday and I broke the axle on the tandem on my plow. And got home Saturday night about 8 o'clock, my air conditioner quit.
Well, that's good.
It's been your weekend.
Yeah, but how's your hand?
My hand's doing better.
I had a flat yesterday coming back from Brown, first one I've had in 25 years. Out underneath it, trying to change it, Joe, wasn't much fun.
Tell you what I've invested in? One of these air hammer, battery operated air hammers.
Yeah.
We gotta get one of those. Makes that tire change.
Yeah. Well, I had to stand on these, break the lug nut, so.
Well, that's the thing, if it's real tight, this thing won't break, you still gotta break it. but then you
Still, yeah, yeah. It was a hot rascal.
Okay, it's, ma'am,
Just trying to find out exactly what time it is. It is now 9 o'clock.
yep,
It is official.
I'm starting the recording and then we will call roll and get started. Okay, Mills County Commissioners Court of September 14th. We have court present in the courtroom are Commissioner Wright, Commissioner Hall, Commissioner Guerin, and myself. Present via Zoom is Commissioner Williams, so that is 100% of the court. Also present in the courtroom, we have County Attorney Gerald Hale, County Clerk Carolyn Foster, and the Justice of the Peace Kim A. Vance. And appearing via Zoom, I see the County Treasurer Trina Busby sign in. It says JP Clerk's Office. So would that be? Okay. And someone from the Goldthwaite Eagle and the Sheriff's Department. I always have trouble with the camera. I recognize Tina. Is that Chris Green sitting next to you, Tina?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
So that is, we have a quorum. That's who's present physically or ethereally. And so let's stand for the pledge and the prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes.
Commissioner Williams, do you feel like praying remotely or should we bring it home?
I got it. Dear Heavenly Father, bless this day that you have granted us. Be with us as we do the business of Mills County. Guide and direct us in all of our actions and be with each one of us. And thank you for the rain you have bestowed upon our county. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Audience with individuals, and we have no one present and no one signed up to speak. Is correct, Ms. Foster? So this being the first meeting of the month, let's run through in the consent agenda.
We're not gonna do the review and act on the minutes.
We are. I just skipped that. Thank you. Okay, we have two sets of minutes here. August 31st and September 8th. Has everyone had a chance to read them? I had one correction on the minutes of August 31st, and it's courtesy of the new laws. On item 10, where we were voting to adopt tax rates, that needs to be, we actually were voting to adopt proposed tax rates. And then we advertised the proposed tax rates and adopted them in the next meeting. Because otherwise the minutes would show we were adopting them twice. So if everyone is in agreement with that change, that is all I had. Any other comments on the minutes of August 31st?
I make a motion, we accept them with the changes as needed.
Okay, both August 31st
August 31st and August.
and September 8th.
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? We have a second from Commissioner Guerin. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have approved the minutes of August 31st as corrected and September 6th. There are a couple of personnel change forms in our package, and then we have the consent agenda. It's the monthly reports from the departments of the county. I'll just summarize them, I guess, for the audience, but you should refer to the reports for details, because I'm not going to cover every number. We have the monthly county treasurer's report showing receipts of 92,000 and disbursements of 681,000. And on the second page of it, you see the liabilities of the county, which are unchanged at rounded $6.8 million. We have the report from Mills Central Appraisal District. Well, I've got to get out of order. I get to try and stay on the agenda order. The next item was accounts payable, which was distributed electronically Friday. Everybody had a chance to look at it. Ms. Busby, the payment to Charles Miles, that's the annual payment that we budget as an accounting expense. You are muted. If you would unmute yourself, please.
So he is billing us the hours actually spent working for the county.
Okay, so that's basically for the budget process. This is his first bill we've received, right?
Correct.
Only bill.
I had one question on it. It was on the John Deere Financials judge, and Trina advised me that was loss and implement that I made the payment. Please.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure for that.
I stumbled on that too, and it's in 2 precincts, but I remember from my personal account, they changed their accounts receivable over to John Deere Financial. So
Correct.
any
That's-
parts, belts, it's going to show up like this.
She explained that to me this morning too, and I said I didn't know where that was going to.
Either that or it's the world's smallest loader. I had a question in the law enforcement section, probably for Chris Green. It's looks like a 2-drawer seat vault for a pickup truck, about $5,000. Is that something we put in every time we buy a truck, or is it any vehicle that doesn't have a trunk that we have to do something like this?
It's a little bit of both of those. We've tried these truck boxes in the past. The amount of equipment these guys carry is astronomical. We end up piling it in the back seat. We've tried truck boxes before and haven't been happy. We located this one. It's the company's been around for a while. We demoed it. Hopefully we'll be pretty happy with it. It's a pretty robust system, but one of the benefits is it can be transferred from vehicle to vehicle pretty easily. So hopefully one-time investment, we'll get several vehicles used out of it. So yeah, it's actually 2 different boxes. It's a smaller one for behind or under the seats for one vehicle, and then in the bed for the other.
Okay, I'm just curious. Sometime when I'm out there, if you could show me one, I just having a little trouble understanding.
Yeah, whenever it comes in, I'd be glad to. It's a pretty neat system.
Any other questions on accounts payable?
They're
Okay.
here.
Then moving back through the list of the consent agenda, we have the monthly Mills Central Appraisal District collection report, 2 pages, actually first page is county tax, second page is road and bridge. You can see we've collected approximately 91%. That is way behind where we usually are this time, which is in the high 98s to low 99s. The difference is almost 100% a single taxpayer. It's the ongoing appeal on Sherryland Encore, and it's been a couple of weeks since I checked the court docket, but last time I checked, hasn't been a hearing set on that appeal. So that's ongoing.
Judge,
Yes.
I'd like to mention that the lawyer said no change in that at their last meeting. So we have no idea what's going to happen. It's still in the lawyer's hands.
Yeah, but when I looked at the file, our lawyers had not filed anything past the initial answer, general denial type filing. And I understand they were supposed to be working on a motion for a dismissal or a directed judgment, but unfortunately that's not in file yet. And until they file something like that, the court's not going to take any action. The county extension report, you can see 390 miles. Majority of it is a wool and mohair event in Brenham, although it says video. And on the second page, you can see what's on the agenda for this month, which there's one youth team that looks like it's already happened, and the rest of it is largely administrative. The monthly sheriff activity report reflects for August 325 calls, 7 arrests, 12 bookings into the jail. The difference between the arrest and bookings, the arrests are by the sheriff's office. The bookings include other agencies, primarily highway patrol or out of county. And at the very bottom, you see the out of county housing bill, $9,600, which is primarily San Saba. That one Comanche guest, I believe, has gone away. This probably was a final couple of days of billing.
It's $6,900 instead of 96.
I'm sorry, my dyslexia is coming through. You're right, $6,900. The next one is the monthly report from the Justice of the Peace Office. It's a multi-page document that goes to Austin. You can, first page, what I consider the key points is you can see the active cases up near the top. It's just going down the non-parking column, just for ease of talking. It's 850 active cases. There's 29 new cases. A little more than halfway down the page, you get into dispositions, see them, providing proof of insurance, taking driver safety courses, and there's a total dispositions, 29 cases, and ends the month at 787, if I'm reading that right. And then there's similar break takedowns on the other columns. The next page is civil. There's debt collection cases, small claims, and landlord tenant. Same format. It starts with the total active, the judgments issued, and other resolutions, and where it ends up. The third page is juvenile activity, which is showing nothing. And then the last page is sort of at the top, you see magistrations. That's reading rights and setting bail for people in our jail, and their numbers there. About line 15, inquest. Those are calls for people, death calls, people that die other than under medical supervision. And finally, the financial piece at the very bottom. Robert, you may need to help me with the numbers, but I think it's $4,900 to the county, and I can't make out the total.
Total of $6,998.37, and
Okay,
2,090.07 went to the
it's the
state.
state. I'll bring my magnifier next time.
Yeah, it's awful small, Judge. I can't only see me.
Thank you. From the judge's office, and things slowed down a little bit in August. We have senior center rented once and 2 PEP septic permits for $620. You can see if you look up the septic permit page over the summer, there were way more septic permits than we usually see, indicative of that, and electrical turn-ons, which we see through another source, show people more and more trying to make their rural property livable, mostly people from out of town. Let's see, where are we? Hamilton EMS. There's 2 reports here, graphic displays. One is for the county and one is for the county except for the city of Goldthwaite, and the other one is calls within the city of Goldthwaite. Thing I would like to point out is on the 42 calls in the county, this is the first report I've seen, and according to Hamilton EMS, it's the first time in 3.5 years where 100% of the calls in the county have been answered in less than 20 minutes. Our contractual standard, off the top of my head, was either, I think, was 90% of the calls being answered in 20 minutes. So this is 100%. What I think and what Hamilton EMS says is leading to the improved response rate is changing our backup ambulance from Hamilton to San Saba. So when our ambulance is out on a call, they position one of the San Saba ambulances down by the bridge, which is quicker to get to Goldthwaite than positioning one up near the county line on 2005. That's the EMS report. Veteran Service Officer, this is our last report. You can see, read this. Right-hand column is number of veterans served. I think the number's 18 at the bottom of the page. And then the left-hand, for our left-hand columns, number of hours, and you can see what he worked on for each activity. And the interesting thing you start to see in this is our ability now to go directly into the VA's website and get to the bottom of things, print reports, find out what's missing. I think the service levels to the veterans has really jumped up. Any questions, anything we didn't address on the monthly reports and the consent agenda? And I'd entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda. Okay, we have a motion. I'll
I'll
second it.
second.
Okay, we'll let Commissioner Williams second it from New Mexico. Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, that is approved. Action agenda. Consider an act on plan agreement for Texas County and District Retirement System. This is Ms. Busby's item. You can see there's a page in your agenda that shows that our participation is described at the top. The employees contribute 7% of their wages. The county does a double match, a 200% match of that. And then there's stuff about service credits. Let me turn it over to you, Ms. Busby. What are we
Okay.
doing?
Well, we just have to approve the rate that we're going to do each year for the county. And so our initial rate for this year was going to be 12 point, I'm looking at my computer over here, 12.33, but we chose to do, and our budget is based on 14%. to try to get rid of some of that unfunded liability. And this is just to approve that. Basically, we've already approved it with the budget, but we have to sign this form and approve it in court.
So we'll sign this and send it back to TDCRS.
Correct.
What we had been doing was taking advantage of the investment earnings in the retirement fund. And so our match has always been 200%. So basically 14%, but we were only contributing a lower number because of earnings in the retirement fund, and that lower number ranged from 10 to 12% and change every year. The deficit, and those are reported in arrears, I think from memory was in the $600,000 to $800,000 range in the last report versus 400,000 something the year before. It's going the wrong way. And what we budgeted to do was we're matching 14. Employees are doing 14, doing 7, counties doing 14. So we just budgeted 14. And if the earnings end up being less than 14, nothing, this covers our employees. If the earnings are positive, this starts chipping away at that unfunded deficit. Any questions? Is there a motion?
It's already been approved. You just have to sign it. Is that not correct?
Well, the budget's been approved. Yeah, this is, let's see.
You need to approve this.
I make a motion to approve the planning budget for 2021, Mills County 226, effective January 1st.
I'll second that. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the next item, number 5, is there are a couple of items to declare surplus and sell at an auction. Are these in both in precinct 2? Commissioner Guerin?
Those 7312, yeah, we're not using it much anymore.
Don't forget your microphone.
It's still a good machine, but I think it's time to get rid of it. And we've got that 12G we can use it instead. The portable air compressor was one that was on our pickup. It's been patched together several times. It still runs, motor's good, still makes air, but it's not real dependable. We replace it with another one, so it's that C5 volt and get rid of it.
So then the county we have a requirement to advertise, I think 30 days in advance. So this starts the process for, it won't be in the next auction. It'll be advertised shortly and probably in the auction after that.
In November 26th or something like that, I think.
Yeah,
Then on this,
Judge, it has to be run twice in the newspaper.
All it's gonna be done is 2 times.
Twice?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that covers it.
You had a question, Commissioner?
Yes.
Wright?
On the motor grader jet, do y'all have an extra one or anything to take the fires, or do y'all just use one, the 2 that you?
We got the 12G.
Okay.
We just didn't use this in full.
Railroad.
And I found out it's okay to use 12G for the railroad with, so this is actually spare, or we're not using it
How many maintainers you got in your precinct?
for.
Okay. Well, you're safe, then you'll have a backup.
Sorry.
You will have a
Yeah,
backup.
I'll have it back. And the
Okay.
12G is in good shape. It's an 80,
Okay.
instead of 73. This is one of those knuckle.
This is the one y'all just kind of left in the precinct out of the way from the precinct barn.
No, it's parked on the road board. We use the road.
Oh, I knew.
Green road.
I just remember Keith said he used to leave one on the other side of the precinct so we didn't have to driving back and forth.
You know, well, this was on the south side where we've been working on road. It's still a good old machine, it's just, you know, if you ever have room on the road, but you don't do a lot on that road.
Make a motion that, allow precinct 2 to sell these at Live Oak, ready for auction to be determined.
Okay, we have a motion to declare the 2 listed items in precinct 2 as surplus to be sold at Live Oak auction.
I'll second it.
We have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. That's unanimous. And we'll move on to number 6, line item and special budget amendments. Ms. Busby, floor is yours. Unmute yourself.
So these are just a lot of budget amendments to just clean up where things are over budget in each person's precinct. I'll try to answer any questions if you have questions on one of them. The 2 for the grants is just because those are new this year. We were adding budgets to those.
So that makes them the special budget amendment versus a line.
Correct.
What is the HABA grant? What is that, Brenda?
That's the one, it's HAVA, Help America Vote Act. So that's where we are getting all the new voting machines from that grant.
Yeah, that was a pretty good sized grant, and it was limited to using it only for voting activity. Any other discussion or questions? I would move approval of the line item transfers and special budget amendments as presented by the treasurer.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, 7, consider an act on the county district clerk appointment. We had, when we put this agenda together, we had internal candidates that everybody knew. Since that has happened, we have a couple of external applications that came in. The ads we ran had a cutoff of last Friday. We received no applications Friday, so the last application was Thursday. There was a schedule in your package listing the applications. The external applications were Elizabeth Jernigan, Leslie Sue Hammond. We had an application from Lee Kelly. She does not appear to meet the eligibility requirements for the job due to residency. And then we have internal applications from Melissa Womack in Tax Assessor Collector's Office, Gene Parasco in the clerk's office, and Sonia Scott in the judge's office. I gave copies of the resumes to everybody earlier this morning. So when it was internal applicants, I thought, okay, we can be in a position to go into executive session and discuss an act. With the external ones coming in, I think we just need to talk about what we do. We have to me, there's some urgency to move forward. Because September 30 is approaching relentlessly. Carolyn's been unerring in saying that she's going to continue Even though legally, I think the clerk, any elected official is a carryover until their appointment, their replacement is sworn in. But I know she may have personal plans that would like to not infringe on. Plus, we have an election coming up. So I want to discuss in a public forum how you guys want to move forward. I've got a couple of ideas, but I'd like to hear from the court.
I like to see them appear, each one of these candidates before the court, and let us all interview at the same time, just ask questions, Judge, personally, what I think. I know you had a recommendation of trying to break off in groups of 2 and interview them for 15 to 60 minutes, or whatever. But we all hear them at the same time in front of all of us, and where we can ask questions.
The reason I thought about breaking it up into a series of smaller interviews was a combination of notice issues, public meeting issues, and efficiency. I mean, the types of questions, for instance, you might want to raise with an applicant might be different than the ones I want to raise, or different than the one Commissioner Hall, Guerin, et cetera, want to raise. And that way, you know, we could each spend our time going in whatever directions we wanted. And then we get together as a group in executive session and say, okay, here's what I think, and so forth. It's a little intimidating, I think, from the applicant's point of view. When you interview for a job in business, group interviews are kind of disdained. It feels a little bit like a star court rather than a series of personal interviews, but that's a preference. It's not a strong preference, but that was where I was coming from.
And this is a public job, you know.
It's an elected official,
public,
yeah.
And that's one reason I felt like, you know, in front of everybody that we, you know, interview instead of, you know, closed session. That's just my thoughts on it.
Well,
it's a public job.
Some of these people have other employers. And so if we do it in public, I mean, and then they don't get the job, their current employer is going to be seeing on YouTube. I mean, there's an example now, I'm told, in another county where the county judge has been applying for a law enforcement position out of state, and it's showing up on YouTube back in the county from the interviews. So that's one reason, because we have 6 applicants, only one of them is going to get it. And to not publicly show too much to their current employers. But that's a consideration. It's not.
Well, once they put their name on a dotted line, did they not go public on the applications?
Well, they are now, because this document that he handed out is public record.
Right, but their interview's not
Yes.
on YouTube right
Correct.
now. Somebody, if they went to the clerk's office, they could retrieve this document. It's a little more complex to just go into the YouTube channel. What's your?
How do you feel about it, Gerald, on that situation?
Well, the statute's pretty plain. It just says the commissioner court shall select, period. So how the court determines to go through that process is really up to you. I mean, obviously, you've got the Open Meetings Act you've got to deal with, which is the same as in this process as it is in the other. But it's really, in my opinion, it's just wide open with the court to decide how you want to do that, as long as you're complying with the Open Meetings Act. The only way to have interviews that are not public would be to go into executive session to hear those interviews, in my opinion, unless, of course, you've got, I think if a single commissioner wanted to talk to a single applicant, I don't guess there's anything that prohibits that, but you've got the Open Meetings Act to deal with, which means you can't have 3 commissioners talking to a particular interviewer. But as long as you're complying with those basic requirements, you can pretty well do it however you want to. But, I mean, Harold's right, but once someone files a resume or an application or makes some statement that they want to be considered, that's public record. So the public record is there. Otherwise, we're just dealing with the record rules of executive session. And it's a personnel matter, so the court has the authority to go into executive session if it determines that's the way to do it. But again, it's up to the court. How do you want to do it?
Commissioner Hall, what are your thoughts?
I think we ought to go into executive session and speak about this deal myself.
Okay,
Just me, my opinion of it.
okay.
For the interview process or or determine on who we select.
Well, you got the names, you've got the resumes in front of you.
No interviews, just us go into executive session, and decide who we want.
If this resume is not true,
We can go into executive session and come out and not take any action.
yeah,
I think what Commissioner Hall's saying is he's got something he would like to talk about on personnel matters that he would rather talk about in executive session.
for sure.
What are your feelings?
I agree with Robert, that I think it's better discussed in executive session.
Okay,
All of them, I mean, we go there now, talk about it.
We don't, it's not to decide who we're getting. Necessarily.
well,
Well,
Yeah.
it's not on the agenda, it says.
but,
We're gonna
but
consider
the,
an act
ag-
on the district.
that's the purpose of the agenda. We can consider and not act too. I mean, all the time there are items on the agenda that we table, that we turn down, even though they're listed for consider. The act to table is an act.
And we can't make that decision anyway, in executive session, we have to make it once we. come
That's
back
right.
in.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Once
Robert,
we come back out here.
Right.
yeah. Commissioner Williams, do you have a view? Can you unmute yourself?
I can go either direction. If we go into executive session, you'll have to call me on phone.
That, and we could do that. I can call you on my cell phone and put it on a speaker.
But other than that, y'all could go in executive session and I don't have to, I don't have to be there and y'all just come out and I'll be still here on Zoom.
You don't? Okay,
It's just whatever's easier for y'all. Cause I don't know how executive session in Zoom, I don't think you want executive session on Zoom.
no, we do not. And but we could do it on a teleconference. We do have to do it on a recording. And it looks like my recording is down in my desk. So here's what I'd propose. Let's go ahead with the other items on the agenda. There's not much left. And we will recess. We'll go down to my office to executive session because I've got a recorder down there. We still have to record it for other reasons for 2 years. And then come back up here after executive session and either take action or no action. Is that
That's fine.
okay?
That's
And-
what majority wants, an executive, I mean, I don't have a problem.
Okay. Well, let's go on down the agenda then. The next item is just commissioners' requests and reports. Commissioner Wright.
We had about 1.5 inches of rain out in precinct 1, and it didn't take long for it to dry out. We've been busy with the road work. That's all I have to do.
Commissioner Gearing.
We've been grading the road since we got some good moisture. 332, 249, 325, 323, 239, 237, 240, 247, 241, 259, 262, 260. We've also finished up on the stretch of road we've been working on with the rock crew. That's about all I got today.
It sounds a little bit like the road use agreement. Commissioner Hall.
We've been ablating a few roads, still running the brush cutter and been working on a little bit of equipment. That's it.
Okay. I had 2 things I want to mention. One is fires. We did a temporary lift on the burn ban think it was Friday morning, mid-morning, through Sunday afternoon. I got a call from David Swartz on Saturday afternoon, said there'd been 6 fires in the county between Friday when we lifted it and Saturday when he called me, involved Goldthwaite, volunteer fire department, Mullen, and Starr. And if I understood him right, all of them were the result of people going out to burn and it getting out of control. And that's despite how wet things were, high humidity, low winds, but it all got away from them. So just, I wanted y'all to hear that, because the burn ban's back on now, and we all get these calls, and you need to know what happened last time. The firemen were a little tired of putting out people's mistakes.
Judge, who requested the fire ban be put on temporary?
I was one, Edward Sanders was one, Bud West was one, and Kevin Hortz.
I wondered who.
Yeah,
I think more so the Star guy was more than anybody.
And I talked to Swartz about it, and he didn't recommend it, but he wasn't opposed to it. So, I mean, we checked with if I'm answering your question, are you asking what landowners asked to have it off?
I just asked who called you to request a temporary lift on the burn ban to start.
I heard from, I believe I heard from Commissioner Guerin, I heard from Commissioner Hall. I called you about it to get your view. And then I had personally previously heard from a couple of landowners. Sonia had a couple of calls from landowners, and then I called Ed Sanders, and I called,
I just wondered, who requested it be lifted to start with. That's kind of landowners.
It started off landowners. It was like, my recollection, I don't have a list, was in my office, we got 3 or 4 calls, and from talking to commissioners, everybody had received several inquiries about it.
Well,
and except for the comment that, hey, it's still dry out west.
Right.
And that's what I called you to check on.
Yes, I knew that we, in our precinct, we had no rain. I mean, until like that last one, we had 1.5 inches. After I mentioned we had 1.5 inches. Prior to that, we've had 0 rain. And I knew some of the parts of the county out towards Jed, he had some good rain, I think, out his way. And then, other side of precinct 1, Loud Passes, they had 11 inches.
Yeah.
But we didn't receive.
I didn't see any of the smoke, but I know one of the places that burned was something called a Rocky Creek Ranch. I'm not sure. I think that's on the highway between Mullen and Ebony. There was a fire out toward Ridge, and the McCaslin place had one.
I think McCaslin, they called out twice.
Yeah. So nothing to be done about it. The burn ban's back on, but as we all get these calls in our life, I just want everybody to know that this started out with good intentions and good science, and didn't work.
Would it ever work though? Yeah, that's the sad part about the landowners that burn. I mean, we can't.
I know. So what, I mean, that's a basic government conundrum is, do you try and set the rules for the reasonable people or the lowest common denominator?
Because that's the deal with the fire chiefs that we get into, I don't know if we'll ever please them or not with the burn ban. It's just a decision that this court has to make.
Yeah, I'm not trying to necessarily please the fire chief per se, but we have the whole effort's based on volunteers.
Sure.
And so we got people that are, take their personal time to go do this, and we need to be careful and ration how we ask them to do that, or we'll run out of volunteers.
Sure, I agree.
The other thing I want to mention, first of all, we got an internet upgrade being installed in the courthouse tomorrow afternoon. So internet connectivity will be down approximately 1 o'clock Tuesday. Syntex says it'll be a couple of hours. I'd expect it may be most of the afternoon. just in case something goes wrong. But phones will work, everybody will work. It's just, don't expect answers to email. And I talked to our wind attorney in Abilene last week a couple of times, and we're starting to try and move forward on, since we got the road use agreement in process, the next step, we have to update our published guidelines and criteria for tax abatement and create rules for a public hearing that would be a mix of in-person and online. We circulated some rules in here a month or so ago. The attorney's been looking at them, is satisfied with them. I asked him to give us something in writing. So when that comes, it'll come back to the court. They are also looking at the proposed changes in the investment criteria or the reinvestment zone. Can't read my notes, something like criteria and guidelines. That's important because if we do that, if we stick with the whole county, that means we have to do every project the same. And the recommendation and what other counties are doing is have a zone per each project, and then you can negotiate each project individually. And so that's what's coming back. That's all I had. So with that, I would.
Commissioner Williams.
Oh, I'm sorry. He's so far away, I didn't see him.
Hi, you're funny.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, we've worked on, we've replaced the seals on the backhoe, done some, put a tin horn in for a new landowner that has moved in off the county road. Done some little bit of grading, still pretty wet. They were hoping to get on it this morning, but I have not visited with my employees this morning. That's it.
Okay, thank you. With that, I would move we recess and go into an executive session, and we will reconvene later this morning. If there could be a second.
Judge,
Yes.
Judge, I'm gonna go ahead and get off Zoom.
Okay, and I will
And
call
then-
you when we get situated with the recorder and put you on a speakerphone.
Okay, thank y'all.
Thank
I second it.
Second and a vote.
Yeah,
Second,
okay, I heard a second from Commissioner Williams. Is there, okay, all in favor of recess? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're in recess.
Did you make the motion?
I made the motion.
Hey, Jason, can you hear me?
yes.
You want me to leave the live stream going? Do you think y'all are coming back in?
No, I'll just exit now. So that way I won't be on hotspot so much.
But I mean, or y'all will come back into court to say something, or is it?
Yeah, but I wonder if he can just call me. I'm scared if I get off hotspot, I may not get on back on it.
Got it. Yes, he can just call you. What, Trina?
I think they're gonna have to come back in and say something.
Adjourn, even if they don't do anything.
Yeah,
So this is just gonna stay
Yeah,
up. The stream is just gonna be here so that Tina, I guess if you hear us come back on, or I'll try to shoot you a text when they come back, if you wanna be back in this. You can give me a thumbs up. Good deal. I'll shoot you a text.
how long do you think it'll be?
I have no idea.
Because I'm just cheap. Hotspot's expensive.
You know, what's interesting is I think, now of course this is still going to YouTube. I could stop that, I can stop the live stream, but still keep the Zoom meeting going.
I'll just stay on, I guess, but when he calls me on my phone, is it gonna interrupt this Zoom?
No, I don't know.
Why don't you just let me get off and then I'll try to get back on?
Okay, I'm gonna leave the meeting going then.
How do I get off without?
You hit leave the meeting. I can remove you.
I'm trying to figure out how to leave the meeting.
Look down. Where are you?
Bottom right.
Thank you. Bottom
Yeah,
right.
I see it.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Craig.
Yeah.
I'll call it in.
And you're just calling Jason's cell.
Yes.
Okay.